This is the meeting of the Bond Accountability Committee, established to assist in monitoring the progress of executing the Beaverton School District's 2022 bond program, and we are responsible to the school board. The date is October 30th. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the Beaverton School District website. Welcome to the Bond Accountability Committee members, representatives of the school board, facility, staff members, and guests. Any guests from the public? I guess not, huh? Okay. I hope everyone had a great summer. Here we go again, new year. Let me also remind everyone to please use the microphone when you're speaking. That way you'll be recorded audibly because, as I mentioned, we are recording this. So the agenda tonight includes, I guess doesn't include public comments, but we have a couple items for committee business, then an update on the internship program, bond program audit summary, summer project recap, financial update, and then a review of the bond financial report. So first I'll start with a couple of things for BAC business. We have, as those of you who were here last year may notice, lost a couple of our members out of the group, both John Mitchum and Dick Harbert. Dick, as you may recall, was on the committee for the last bond and agreed to stick around a year to help us make the transition into our group. And so he has left, and I want to thank him for his service. He actually stuck it out a little bit longer than he was required to, so thank him for that. And then John has kind of a special little story, and so I thought I'd just read what he wrote to the committee and also the school district in leaving. He says, "It was recently brought to my attention that my being a member of the BAC, along with my current role as the boys golf coach at Aloha High School, has been determined to be a conflict of interest. I feel my role to the young men at Aloha High School takes precedent over my voluntary position with the BAC. I've seen my impact over the last couple of years with these young men. It's a rewarding experience. I want to thank Beaverton School District as well as the members of the BAC for the opportunity over the last few years to serve you. I know the BAC committee is composed of very qualified people and will continue to serve the Beaverton School District well. Please accept this letter as notice that I am stepping down from the BAC effective immediately." So also thank you to John for his service. Just one other item before we get into the meat of the agenda. Excuse me. As I think you all recall, we are to be providing a written report to the school board, and we'll be doing that twice this year, once in the spring, but also once in the fall. Excuse me, sorry. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because in order to get it to the school board in time for the meeting in December, early December, I will actually get a draft out to all of you on the 12th of November. So I'll send an email so that you can look at it. And the way it works, for those of you who haven't done it before, is we have a week for our review, then we give it to the facilities group, they have a week, then we get it to the school board a week before the meeting so they can review it before the meeting. So that's how it backs up to that date. And then the last thing I wanted to do is let everyone know that we do have 2 new members in our group. And so I want to introduce Lori Baker and Janice Hill, who are both on this side of the table, and maybe just ask each of them to make a quick comment about their background and how they got here, so to speak.
Do you want me to start?
Sure. Thanks, Lori.
Sure. I'm Lori Baker, and I have lived in the district since 1996 and have 2 kids who have worked their way all the way through the district. So graduated last year from Arts and Communications. My background is in finance. So I am a CPA and have been doing government finance for almost 35 years, and am currently the Director of Finance and Administration for the Urban Flood Safety and Water Quality District, which we do flood control up on the Columbia River. And I'll hand it over to my, yes.
I'm Janice Hill, and since Lori brought it up, I've lived in the Beaverton School District currently since 1978 or 9, something like that. I have 3 children who went all the way through the Beaverton schools, and were quite well prepared for their future beyond that. And I was a teacher in Beaverton for years, and then I was administrator in Hillsborough and retired about 10 years ago, but have kind of worked back and forth. I helped open Sexton Mountain as a teacher on that staff. And my other experience with opening new schools or building and all that was opening Quatama as the principal that opened it in Hillsborough. And I now have grandchildren that are in schools, and so that's my background with budgets is looking at budgets and trying to make them work for what you need in a school, but not necessarily to do with building. So I'm here to learn.
Thank you, both of you. I think that's all we've got from the standpoint of our business. So Aaron, if you want to take it away on the balance of the reporting.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And I did want to clarify, so the meeting is being recorded. It is actually being live streamed. So this is live on YouTube, Beaverton School District website right now and everything, just for your awareness. There's a lot on the agenda tonight, so I'm going to try and move it along here a little bit. The first topic was an internship update. So for those of you who were around last year, you will recall we started doing this program where we are directly hiring interns to work on our teams straight out of the high school programs. So this is, you can see up on the screen, an advertisement that we sent out to all the schools about, just the different requirements for the students and everything. And it went great. This summer we hired 8. 4 of those worked directly for our contractors or architects on the Beaverton and Raleigh Hills projects. And then 4 of them worked with us directly. So there was 1 on the Beaverton team, 1 on the Raleigh Hills team, 1 working doing the communications and social media, and then 1 working on the Stoller project. So we have a little video that we produced that I'll share here. And I did want to introduce a new staff member for our team. We have Nate Baker here. Some of you may recall we used to have Gabby work in our team who did communications. So she's moved out of state, and so Nate is doing the bond communications work now. So a lot of the videos you'll see tonight were produced by him.
I am the intern for the Beaverton High School construction project.
Communications summer intern, yes.
I am a construction management intern at the BSD, Facilities Development Office.
I'm interning at Facilities Development.
What I've been doing during my internship here as a communications intern is primarily taking photos around schools of construction progress.
I kind of work as a project assistant, helping the project managers manage their projects.
I've been able to actually go onto the site. I've done multiple site walks with my supervisor and was able to kind of inspect what's going on there.
I do a wide variety of things. I currently am going around with Chad. He's my mentor in this process. We go to different sites. We check that everyone's coordinating together. We take notes. We fill out safety forms.
The things I've learned during my internship here at BSD is it's a lot of things. Primarily, though, it's kind of just how the world is.
I've learned a lot about construction, more specifically construction management is the role I'm in.
From this internship, I've learned how to think on my feet, adapt, and solve problems quickly. And I feel like that's going to be useful for me both in school, in college, and in whatever career that I choose.
I'm kind of learning how different branches of a company cooperates together and how management works.
To have this experience, to have something to dedicate myself to and have something to learn about something I might do in the future, it's valuable.
It's really kind of pushed me further towards the field I was interested in, which is electrical engineering or just being an electrician maybe.
Having this internship has really helped me kind of view construction management as a potential career choice.
This internship helps me learn about management and communication a bit. It'll give me some help in my future if I ever want to use that. It's just useful to have a real-world experience.
This is my first experience having an actual job, and everyone is like really nice. They've been nice to work with, and so overall it was a really nice experience.
It's really just broadened my horizons of what do I want to do.
I think learning here, I learned that cooperation in the workplace goes a long way, and wherever I go, I think that as long as you can cooperate with people and you do your work, then it's going to be good.
Okay, so that was our summer internship program this year. So it went well. It's always a fun experience. It's neat to engage directly with them. It's always amazing to see what they're capable of, but then also how inexperienced they are, obviously. It's a lot of fun. Okay, my next topic here was a bond program audit. So this is just an update for everybody. So in the past, we have not done a bond program audit. We have now started doing those. We're doing them annually. And here's the findings from the first one, which was looking at the fiscal year 22-23, which is, of course, the first year of expenditures for the bond. So Moss Adams was the accountant that did this, and that we basically got a clean audit. There's a lot of work that goes into doing that, a whole bunch of documentation and everything, and it amazes me that it kind of boils down to one sentence basically. But anyway, it was good findings and a good clean audit. So we've just actually wrapped up doing 23-24, so we'll have that to be able to present next time. But it was similarly a good clean audit. Any questions on that? Perfect. Okay, summer projects update. So we're a little past summer now, but this is our first real meeting here. Hopefully you all enjoyed the tour, by the way. I thought that was neat. So we'll talk about some of the projects you got to visit there. I've got 6 project highlights that we'll go through, and then you can ask any questions or talk about any of the other projects we have going on, because there were a lot this summer. So we'll go through Beaverton High School, Raleigh Hills, Mountain View, Stoller, Westview, and Southridge. And that is an aerial shot of Beaverton High School, obviously. And that was just from last week I got that, so it's pretty recent. So here's a neat time-lapse video that Nate took at Beaverton High School. This is when they installed the tilt panel gymnasium walls. This whole process actually only took 3 days to complete. And once they started tilting the panels, it was a Saturday, Monday, and Tuesday. But work at Beaverton High School is going really well so far. The project is on track. It's doing very well financially. Over the summer, they got all of the site work in. They got the site utilities in, mostly focusing on the building footprint. The building itself is critical path, of course. So getting the under slab utilities in, getting slabs poured, getting the footings in, and then here you can see, of course, the tilt panels of the gym. We can't really see from this video I think there are pictures of it later in the report, but the structural steel now is also largely going up. If you've driven by the site, it's quite a drastic change, but the project is going really well and on track. This is Raleigh Hills Elementary School. So over the summer, school, we didn't start construction until school was out for the summer, unlike at Beaverton where we had started earlier in January. Raleigh Hills started in June, and you can see the condition of the site there. Things are going really well. All the demolition is complete. Quite a bit of unforeseen conditions related to oil tanks and subsurface conditions and everything. So a lot of work went into those, but things are good now. The site's stabilized. You can see down there on the bottom right, there's some drone footage. That's from this week, and they were placing the slabs this week. So things are looking pretty good and definitely on schedule. This is Mountain View Middle School, and I've got a little video I can play here if I can find my mouse. So I'll just play the video and then I can talk.
We have done the first half of a seismic renovation at Mountain View. The idea is to strengthen the building, make it more rigid so it doesn't rock and shake and fall apart. This building was built in the 60s. We didn't know about the Cascadia fault line that is in our area that can cause a serious earthquake, and has done that repeatedly, and we're about 40 years overdue. So we're anticipating an earthquake soon. This old building wasn't built to withstand that.
It's always scary to go through a natural disaster, really anything to happen during school.
Everyone wants to be safe when they go to school or work, so the safer we can make it, the better everybody's gonna feel. So just fix that. Here you go.
So in the first phase of the work, we've done half the school. Half of the classroom wings, we've done the gym, we've got walls and new ceilings that are not gonna be a hazard to the students in the event of an earthquake. It's a bunch of improvements, and it really makes the place feel new. We went to do this renovation. We could see, looking down the hallway, that there's every fourth light or so was kind of a different color, and it ended up being a skylight. So instead of that, we opened it up, we framed it out. Natural light flows inside the hallways, and it really makes the place look a lot nicer. And when the staff came in, they walked to the intersection of the old versus new, and they're like, what is this? I mean, they were excited, and when the students came in, I think they're pretty happy with it.
It makes me feel better to know that if it were to happen, or when, because it's probably gonna happen at some point, that we'd be safer.
I feel well loved by everybody. It's always good to have a community that's there for you.
Okay guys, get under your desk.
On this Great Oregon Shakeout Day, I'm happy to know that the kids are coming into Mountain View and they're seeing a fresh, clean building, but it's a safe building.
It's really nice to know that the community supports the staff and students here and wants us to be as safe as can be.
All right, so that's Mountain View seismic, the first of 2 summers. So next summer we'll go in and do the same thing in the other half of the school. But really happy with how that went this summer. This is Stoller Middle School. We're adding a gym and classroom wing to the building. This is where all the portables used to be. So this is taking the place of the portables on site. And it's coming along very well, mostly framed up now. They're just currently working on the building envelope. Hopefully we'll get some roofing on here pretty quick too. But that is scheduled to be done here before next summer, actually. Okay, Westview High School. Did a lot of work at Westview High School. Still doing a lot of work at Westview High School. Over the summer, we completed the stadium turf replacement and track replacement. So those were both done at the beginning of school here in the fall. The work that is ongoing is with the little building you can see up here. This is the bathroom and concessions building, which they previously did not have one at all. They had outhouses. So we're just getting that wrapped up. That will be done here in November, and the front office renovation will be done in November also. So this is, the purpose is to create a secure entrance vestibule. So both those are going well, and we'll be very happy to be done with those because it is very impactful to the site. Because right now kids have to walk, they can't go through the front door, so they're going to either end of the building, which is just a lot of extra walking. But it's a really amazing space. I'm really proud of the design actually because it'll fit in pretty seamlessly. You won't hardly be able to tell anything was done. We're also doing the tennis court, so that is just about wrapped up as well. We're just waiting on some weather windows to be able to get that thing surfaced. This is Southridge High School. So similar to Westview, we had a lot going on at Southridge. We had a really big HVAC project there, which went very well. Replaced all the rooftop units and redid the controls. Outside, we replaced the stadium field turf and track surfaces. We also converted the existing baseball and softball varsity fields to artificial turf. And those wrapped up actually just last week. So a little time-lapse video there. This is the baseball field with the soccer field overlay on it. So see kind of how it looks today, and it's looking really good. So they're out there using it already. And this here is a list of all the other projects we did over the summer. So, each of these just looks like a bullet point, but some of these are big projects. The Capitol Center HVAC project is a large project, and we're still actually wrapping that one up. The Five Oaks seismic project was a huge project. That one is done. And most all of these are done, actually. But it was a very busy summer and completed a lot of work. Yeah, good question. So we're adding water bottle fillers at all schools. So that one is just getting started, and so we didn't complete the project over the summer, but we got started on the project over the summer, and over the course of the next year, we'll be done with all the water bottles. Usually, it's like 1 or 2 at most schools. Some have them already, but some don't. It's kind of a mixed bag. And then these are, this is a sneak peek of the projects for next summer. So in addition to the ones that will be ongoing, obviously like Beaverton and Raleigh Hills, we'll be adding all of these other ones. Any questions on any of the summer work? Yes.
So just a couple of things. Beaverton High School, the steel is about 50% or so erected, or is it more than that?
I would defer to Jeff for an exact number.
I mean, we're probably closer to 60, yeah.
So are all the foundations and things in for the rest of it? They just have to place the steel?
We have a little bit of foundations up by the building. We had to leave that out to get the tilt panels up to move the crane around. So we're actually pouring those this week. They should be done by this week.
Okay.
Foundations and we'll start.
So you'll be out of the ground mostly for the
Yeah,
winter?
we're mostly out of the ground side.
Okay. And then at Raleigh Hills, you said there were some unforeseen site conditions, schedule or cost impact, or do you know?
Yes, there were quite a few unforeseen conditions, oil tanks and the like, old asbestos pipes and things. Does not impact, we'll actually maybe speak to this in the next presentation here, but
Okay.
we have project contingency that has dealt with that so far.
Okay.
There are significant costs, but it's not beyond the ordinary for a project like that. It should be, yes. Yeah, oops. Yeah, that's what she means. So far on the sneak peek for next year, we will be completing Mountain View.
Aaron, remind me, are most of those already bid out, or do you still have a lot of procurement to do with contract, or is it a mixed bag?
It's kind of a mixed bag. One of the things we did in this bond is we have sort of a short list of CMGC contractors. So a lot of the bigger projects we're able to award via that. So like the Allen will be, the Aloha projects will be, Oak Hills will be via that. We're bidding out Cooper Mountain, so Eric's doing that one. We're just getting ready to bid that one out. We're going to bid out the roof projects. Meadow Park will be a CMGC. It's kind of all over the place.
With those, the on-call contractors that you have, is most of that then going to be the CMGC delivery?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And of course, they do put the projects out to market. I mean, they bid it out to the subcontractors. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff. A lot of these are out on the street right now, actually. It's very mixed, though. Okay, any other questions? Wonderful. Okay. So this is sort of the bulkier presentation for the night. This is a bond program financial update. So the idea here, in a nutshell, is I want to give a picture of where we're at in the bonds financially overall as it relates to our program contingency. We've looked ahead at a few of the projects that we haven't really yet started design on up until recently, and are seeing some budget adjustments that we're going to need to make as we move forward. So that'll all be kind of part of this presentation here. But bottom line here is this is all a good news story. The program is in really good shape financially. I'm very happy with that. So I wanted to, before I dive in here, talk about contingency a little bit and maybe define some of these terms for anybody that might not be aware. There's multiple different types of contingency that we look at when we're budgeting the construction projects. Contingency is, money budgeted within or without or outside of a project to deal with unforeseen conditions or just things that come up on all projects. And, if we do enough of these projects, we can kind of baseline what that ends up being on most projects. So we have project contingency that is within the projects. That is so if you look in our financial report, you'll see a project budget. Within that, we will have an owner's contingency. Typically, it's about 10% that we target a starting project budget as. It depends a little bit on the type of and complexity of the projects. Like the seismic projects actually will typically use more than 10% contingency. They just have more unforeseen conditions. There's just more work. There's more trades involved. Anything earthwork usually requires a lot of contingency. You end up dealing with soft soil conditions or just buried stuff. Roof projects actually typically don't require a whole lot of extra contingency. There's very few subcontractors involved. It's just not typically that complicated. So really, it kind of depends on the project. We also have contractor contingency. So this is similar, but it exists within a GMP contract. So for instance, on Beaverton High School, part of our guaranteed maximum price contract with Skanska involves them having a pot of contractors contingency. That's just what goes into the guarantee that they make when they sign that contract. It reduces their risk. They have the same issues pop up, there's coordination challenges that are going to come up in the project that they can't possibly foresee. That is meant to deal with that. We have design and estimating contingency. This typically will only exist in a project kind of early on in the design phase, really before the design has developed entirely. Like, say we're at schematic design, we know that the design is going to develop. We know that there's going to be complexity added that is not accounted for in the schematic design level documents. So they'll add, 15%, and that gets you your budget. So for project budgeting, a lot of times that will be baked in. And then kind of the topic of today's presentation is our program contingency. So this is a pot of money outside of any of the projects. It sits below the line, and it just goes towards any project that cannot be managed with the project level contingency. So like, say for instance, well, actually I'll go into a bunch of examples today, so we'll talk about that. But the good news here is that pot of money started at $43 million for the entire bond, for the $723 million bond, and right now it's at $74 million, so it's gone up. So let's talk about that. So the original bond, like I said, $43 million in contingency out of a $723 million bond, and you can see on the slide here that the way I'm representing this is the program contingency relative to the uncommitted value of work in the bond. So, which is separate from the contingency. So, does that make sense? The $680 million is the 723 minus the 43. So the 680 is the uncommitted projects at the beginning of the bond, which means that our contingency is 6.3% of the uncommitted work. That's where we were at the beginning of the bond. The day the bond passed, that's where we were at. However, that situation has changed, so we're no longer in that same situation right now, and there's a couple reasons for that. The first one is we have increased the funding to the bond pretty substantially. So the first way that happened here was we had a bond premium. When we sold the bond, market conditions were such that the people buying the bonds were overpaying for the bond, so we received this premium of $16.6 million. Right now, we are getting ready to do the second half of the bond sales, probably in February, March timeframe. And right now, they're telling us that there's a good chance that we will get another bond premium, but we're not counting on that in any of these projections here. And then similarly, oh, my circles are kind of off there. We got interest earnings on the bond. So for, we go out and sell the first half of the bond. That money comes and is sitting in our bank account, essentially. And there are different government, different state investment vehicles that you can put that money in while you're, waiting to expend money. And that money has done really well just with interest rates the way that they are right now. So we received over $18 million in interest earnings on those funds. So our bond program contingency, both those went into the program contingency. So the program contingency is in really good shape right now. The other thing that has happened is we've made a lot of progress on the projects themselves. So the uncommitted portion of the bond has gone down significantly. So with the, we have a guaranteed maximum price contract on Beaverton High School with Skanska. So that is the risk associated with that project is reduced now that it is committed. There's not no risk, but the risk is greatly reduced. So when we look at the impacts that both of those have on our current financial situation, you can see that the contingency percentage compared to the uncommitted dollar value of work left remaining in the bond is 29%. So really good condition, especially compared to where we started. Okay, so with that in mind as some background on our current situation with contingency, we went and looked at the remaining bond projects. Our job and what you all help us with here is to make sure that we're completing all of the projects that we committed in the bonds. And so, you can see there's $250 million worth of projects that we haven't started yet. So we're looking at those projects and looking at the budgets for those projects and the cost estimates for those projects and making sure that they're still valid or not. We spent a lot of time doing very detailed cost estimates on like Beaverton High School, for instance. That one came in on budget. As you work your way down the list, some of the smaller projects didn't have quite the same level of due diligence in some cases as would be appropriate. And here are the 6 projects we'll talk about tonight. Each of these, for one reason or another, needs a budget adjustment. And when you look at the reasons, it kind of boils down to 2 different reasons. It's more complicated than this, but these are sort of high-level 2 reasons: jurisdictional requirements and project needs assessments. So for the jurisdictional requirements, we've listed 3 here. So the Allen Transportation Project, Allen has a bus repair facility on it. This is just off 217, down on the east side of, on Allen, just east of 217. There's a facility there where we repair buses. And what is that, 4 bays right now?
6.
It's a 6-bay bus repair facility. The building is very old. It is really not adequate to service our buses currently. There's a lot of, actually, why don't you explain?
So yeah, there are challenges related to the bay widths, height, and the seismic vulnerability of the building. There's just no way to renovate or restructure the building that allows us to keep the facility. So that's sort of the issue with the building itself, and then the jurisdictional issue relates to how the jurisdiction wants water stored on site. So stormwater and things like that.
Basically, the initial estimate that we used to come up with for the project was replacing the building what we didn't look at is the site as a whole. The entire site is impervious, right? And the whole thing's paved with no treatment or detention, and you know, it's got a wetlands around it and everything. So dealing with that is really the biggest cost impact we're looking at, as long in addition to right-of-way improvements along Allen Boulevard right there. The other two are also related. So Aloha High School, both Aloha and Westview have the same stormwater issue. When I initially estimated those projects, I didn't fully capture the stormwater requirements associated with both of those. And actually, that's the full story for Westview. Aloha is a little different. Aloha has a bit more additional requirements associated with it. Aloha, as a high school, has the smallest footprint in terms of property size. It's very comparable to Beaverton, actually, but relative to the other high schools, it just has less field area, and which means there's less programming opportunities at the school. And so what was not included, which we are now including in this current cost estimate, is a soccer field overlay kind of down on the end of the baseball field, which really just translates to quite a bit more square footage of artificial turf being put in, which, you know, along with that, there's more stormwater. In addition to that, it includes lighting and backstop netting. There's not lighting there currently for those fields, and the netting is just end of life, needs to be replaced. And our goal here is to deliver sort of the same programming at Aloha as at the other high schools. Then we have project needs assessments. So these are all each kind of unique. The story here, though, is these were projects where we had planned and had budgeted, but hadn't really gone in and really done a full needs assessment, hadn't really done a fully thorough scope analysis of the projects. But now that we have done that, we feel that we need to adjust the budget to properly complete the projects. Outdoor learning, this is a group of projects that we have in the bond to create, you know, outdoor play areas, basically. And one that got missed or got overlooked was at the Capitol Center. So the Capitol Center is over off of Walker and 185th. A large school, BASE is housed there, and CTP. Those are the two largest programs. There's about 1,000 kids on site there, and there is quite literally zero outdoor recreation area at the school. It's an old, I don't know, what was the building? It was kind of an old manufacturing office type building, and it wasn't a school. It wasn't designed to be a school, and we've repurposed it as such. But there's not any place for them to go outside, quite frankly, safely. It's right on 185th, and so this would go in and create you can't fit a full-size soccer field, but it's about a half of a soccer field. You can fit 2 futsal courts and an 1/8 of a mile track in the parking there. It's a big site. There's a lot of parking, so we can just take over some of that parking and make it a nice, secure play area within that project. The next one is security upgrades. So the security upgrades projects in the bond, there was a $10 million allocation to do security upgrades. We knew that there was a need to continue doing security upgrades. What we didn't have at that time was really a fully detailed scope of what that looked like. We knew it would involve cameras and card readers, and so those are the bond commitment. But we have a new public safety team now, and working with them and their expertise on these matters, there's a number of other systems here that we are including to really just make sure these buildings are as safe as possible. And it's a pretty significant add to do all these systems. And these are at every single school district-wide. And then nutrition services, so this is the last one. So we have a group of projects in the bond for nutrition services upgrades. Within that bucket, one of the projects was to renovate the kitchen at Beaver Acres Elementary School. Beaver Acres kitchen is old and it's small. It is very inaccessible. There's a lot of ramps and stuff in it in a really weird small area. And upon further investigation, renovating the kitchen really wasn't going to be possible in any sort of decent way. And what was really needed at the school was a new cafeteria also. So the school has about 900 students in it, and the cafeteria was designed for around 200 students. So what that means is they have a lot of lunch periods that are spread out over a long period of time. They're short lunch periods. One of the big problems for the school is that the cafeteria is located really at the opposite end of the school as the playground. So there's a lot of time spent with kids walking between the cafeteria and the playground. A lot of disruption that takes place in the building during those transition periods. So what we're suggesting is we're going to build a new cafeteria on the back of the school adjacent to the playground, and then convert the old cafeteria and kitchen area into classrooms. Yes.
So you may have mentioned this and I missed it, but these are all big enough that they need to go to the school board for review and approval, right?
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. I should have added that at the beginning as context. So the purpose for bringing this to you all today is that each of these budget adjustments, which I'll show you precisely what we're talking about here in a few slides, but we have the cost management and control plan that we used, which kind of dictates how we allocate the program contingency within the bond. Any transfers of over $1 million of program contingency require school board's action. So that is what our intention here is to do. We're presenting it to you all today for awareness and to see if you have any questions or concerns and so forth. But the plan will be to take this to the school board next month for information and then vote on it in the future, basically. So, okay, the next thing I wanted to cover here was outstanding risks. So we, as part of this analysis, I don't want to give the impression that we looked at everything remaining in the bond, because we didn't, but there are a few projects here, and I want to kind of walk through each of them. So there are a large group of projects that we're saying have fixed budgets. And a good example of this is the deferred maintenance budget. So the deferred maintenance line item you'll see in the financial report, it started out as $120 million. And within that, we do all of the deferred maintenance projects. That program can be delivered and meet the bond commitment without exceeding the budget. Essentially, we will do deferred maintenance projects until we run out of deferred maintenance budget. It doesn't represent a risk to the program. And there are a number of other projects like that. There are a number of smaller projects, some of the other outdoor learning projects, some of the classroom additions, office relocations. They're just very small projects. They're in the $1 to $2 million range and don't represent a risk to the program. We have the seismic projects. These are kind of a whole other animal, but the seismic projects are a risk, and we should make sure to hold back some program level contingency to deal with the seismic upgrades projects, which is part of our recommendation here. The other thing with seismic projects, a lot of the cost increases that you see associated with the seismic projects are not actually seismic, they're actually deferred maintenance issues. So when we're going in and doing the work at Five Oaks or Mountain View, we're doing the seismic work, but at the same time, we're doing a ton of deferred maintenance, as much as we could pick up while we're in there. They're so invasive that it's just the right time to do all this stuff. So, for instance, a roof, I actually put it on here, a roof replacement at Five Oaks, that is a huge cost add to the seismic project, so it makes it look like the seismic project is over budget, but it actually is just a budget transfer from the deferred maintenance to pay for that roof, because that's where it would have been paid from. And then not enough information. Right now, this really is only one project that we haven't looked at a deep level, and that would be the cafeteria and gym project at Barnes Elementary School. So right now we have this scheduled for a little bit later out in the bond. I think I note here that there's a good chance it'll require a little bit of a budget adjustment, but I don't think it'll be significant. It should be pretty close to in line with what we're seeing at Stoller and Beaver Acres. But that will be the only project that we haven't looked at in some great level of detail. And then just a contingency look ahead. There's a good chance that contingency is going to be going up in the future. we're certainly not banking on this right now, but if you look at the interest earnings, we'll continue to accrue interest earnings. The interest rates are probably going down a little bit, so the amount that we're earning will be a little bit less, but there will still be additional bond revenue associated with that. And I also mentioned, I think we will probably get another bond premium. So here is the recommended adjustments. So this slide basically has it all. I'm showing the actual budget adjustments that were recommended for each of those different projects, which total up to almost $35 million. So it's roughly half of the contingency. And you can see down here, the little chart on the bottom, this is what it would look like after the adjustment. One thing to point out is this adjustment of $35 million is actually really close to the added revenue that we've received into the bond program to date. So our program contingency will be very close to where it was at the beginning of the bond, but our uncommitted value of the bond is way, way down, and the risk is way down. So we feel very good about doing these adjustments at this time.
So has any of the contingency been used for any of the current projects that are completed or that are underway right now?
Good question. Yes. And I can tell you exactly what on. It's in the financial report. There have been a few adjustments. The one that was notable, I would say, is Southridge High School. So the turf field at Southridge High School, we did have to adjust that project. Let's see. Gosh, too many pages for me to dig through on the fly. So we transferred. Hold on, I'm looking for it. Okay, so on the contingency transfers page of the financial report, you can see all of those, the budget changes associated with contingency. But there was a $1.7 million transfer into the Southridge project. And that was we talked about this last year, actually. This was for the stormwater issues that we had at Southridge High School. And that did have to go to the school board for approval at that time.
All right. Does that mean this number is actually minus that after adjustment?
This is all of these the current contingency number is after any other previous transfer. So that is the current balance as of today. Yep. Good question.
So I have a question. I think it would be really nice to, when it comes close to the board, is to have like what was our original budget for that line item?
Yep.
What it is now and what the adjustment, because just by looking at the adjustment, it does not really give you the picture of what you guys are planning to do.
That's a good point. And absolutely, we could do that.
Yeah, and then provide maybe some information of why that is going up.
Yes,
Thank
absolutely.
Question, and I don't know if you will cover that later, but when do you guys decide, with the leftover program contingency, if they can be used for other projects, additional projects like HVAC in Sunset? I've heard that so many times from students, staff.
Track at Sunset. We just did it.
No, HVAC.
Oh, sorry. I was like, we just did that.
HVAC.
Okay, let's see. HVAC at Sunset we're doing. That's not an added project. We're doing it.
You are doing it.
We are doing it. So that will actually start summer 2026. So we've been talking about it a little bit. We're just going to get ready, started on design.
But
so,
any additional project, when do you decide from the program contingency that it can be used?
Yep, correct. Good question. So I would say, so you can see up here after this adjustment, assuming this is approved and everything, we'll have almost $40 million of contingency left over. I'm saying I think that's going to keep going up. We need to start that process soon. I would say within another year we'll start looking at it. We know of a lot of needs associated with deferred maintenance in the district. That will probably be what our focus will be. But yes, over the next year, I would suggest we would start looking at that and bringing that forward.
Good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
So I know we've got 251 million left uncommitted, but there's an additional 300 million that's left unspent. It's under committed projects that has not actually been spent yet. So given that, and I know you talked about the various types of contingencies at the outset, is the 10% in the project, or whatever the percentage is in the project contingency budgets, do you feel like that's comfortable to cover those projects that are committed, so you don't need any of this program contingency?
Yes. Yeah, great question. So what's not apparent or visible in this level of detail, I would add, is that, yes, there are, like I mentioned earlier, there's contractor contingency and there's project level contingency, which are, it's not shown in here. It's just within the project budget. So we look at all of those. We monitor all of those very closely. We do monthly forecasting meetings with our project managers, who are doing weekly cost meetings with their contractors, with their OAC meetings, owner architect contractor meetings. So we have $17.3 million in owner contingency that is currently within projects. So like Beaverton probably is about half of that. Beaverton within the project budget, so not considering any of this, it has, an owner's budget of $8 million or so. And we have contractor contingencies, which are $15.7 million. So those are within guaranteed maximum price contracts. That's money that, if it's not spent during the project, will come back to us as savings 100% at the end of those projects. So that's $33 million cushion that's within the executed projects. But good question. Any other questions? So what this will look like, the next steps is we will be presenting this to the school board at the November 12th business meeting, and then potentially voting on it at the December meeting. And if that happens, we'll be able to move forward with all the projects. So, any other questions on this one?
Is there any kind of a lessons learned? Because I think if it weren't for the premium and the interest, the contingency budget would be almost zeroed out by now. At least the overall one, if there's like 38 million left.
If we did this transfer, yes,
Right.
Correct. That is true.
So is there anything to memorialize for the next bond, maybe a different way to construct the language or run the estimate so that, right, if we're under different economic conditions?
Yeah, great question. I would say the biggest impact here is probably these stormwater upgrades that are required. And so just having a little bit more of a due diligence process to make sure we're reflecting those in our cost estimates before we move forward. That would certainly be a lesson learned. The Beaver Acres thing, that also, it's something we should have spent more time on in advance of the bond. It's hard. Like, you can only go into so much detail as you're doing these things, but certainly some of these bigger projects we should have spent more time on and had a more comprehensive strategy to get them included.
Aaron, I'll throw you a bone here. The stormwater management requirements changed after the bond was passed, which drove the biggest contingency spends we had. So I'm just going to throw you a bone.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Wonderful. Well, that's that for that topic. Geez, that went quicker than I was expecting.
So just to be clear, anybody have any concern with what they heard or what they're doing? We're good.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we're going to have Jason review the financial report. And do you want to run this?
Sure.
Easier. Yep. Oh, but I guess, this is going to be the PDF.
Yeah.
Oh, do I have to, I can't use the down arrow. Oh, this is
It's backwards.
yeah. How do I get it to maximize?
If you go hover down towards the bottom, there's no. Oh, there it is. God, this is such a pain to do.
Is this the button here? Nope. Maybe. Wow. I can't see that.
Sorry, technical difficulties. It's always hard presenting PDFs on here.
Oh, weird.
Oh, I didn't do
How do we do that?
that. Okay, forgive us for a moment. We got to get the correct report.
It's in the Google Drive.
Okay, show me where.
Please go to the Google Drive and then type in.
Oh, it's on the website. That's where I'm gonna go. Okay, there we go. You all saw how quick and easy it was to navigate our bond website.
All right, perfect. All right, so a lot of this, some of this will be remedial. Sorry. Some of this will be a bit remedial because Aaron's talked about some of these topics already. So our overview, just a real quick capture of where we are, 83 active projects right now. Current commitments about $452 million. You can see our uncommitted budget there at the bottom. From an executive summary perspective, the highlights this month are that the interest earning for the last quarter has posted, so that was an increase of about 5.6 million. We're targeting a quarter one of 2025 bond sale. We're keeping an eye on cash flow and working with the business office on that to make sure that's timed just right. The further we delay that, the more favorable it appears to be. So we'll keep tracking that with their input. From a schedule perspective, we had more active projects this summer than we've had in the school district's history. There were a lot of projects going on, a lot of moving parts, but everything was either completed or to the point of completion that we had anticipated by the end of the summer, which was really good news for us. And much of the design work is significantly underway for our 2025 projects. So a lot of those are almost to the end of CDs and ready to be bid or to negotiate GMPs with our contracting partners. Some of our challenges and opportunities, we were successful in getting ESSER funds for our Southridge HVAC project, which ended up saving the bond program about $7.5 million, which was great. So that freed up funds for other deferred maintenance projects. And you can kind of see the cash flow chart here. That's what we're trying to keep an eye on to make sure we do the bond sale at the appropriate time. Next page, and I presume most of you are following along in front of you. I don't have a lot of control over the zooming here. Apologies for that. Financial statement, there's really not a whole lot to go through here since we've kind of touched on some of these highlights. All of the changes in the financials will be in more detail in the subsequent pages. So I'll move on to those pages. Just as a reminder, the key is here in the upper right corner. So if you have, if you're like curious what the color coding means, sort of the yellow is a change that was made to the budget. So that could be transferring funds in or out of a project. So at project completion, when we close it out, we'll move those funds back into the bucket that they belong. So whether that's nutrition services or deferred maintenance, et cetera. If it's gray, the project is complete. And if you see sort of that peachy color, that's just a correction from a previous report that you would have seen. So just so you kind of are oriented to that. A lot of the movement in funds over the last, on this report relate to moving funds out of a project. And sometimes, in many cases, it's combining it into another project to have efficiencies in contracting, like carpet at 3 schools instead of having carpet at 3 different project level budgets. So that's the main change that you're seeing here. And then you're seeing a good bit of moving funds into the unallocated budget or out of the unallocated budget and into the project. Any questions on that before I move on to sort of the high level contingency transfers? Okay. From a high level contingency transfer, you'll see that there are 6 items that we highlighted here. One is SB 1149, so basically energy or sustainability costs coming back to the district. And so these are being, whenever possible, those are moved back into the project to cover other expenses for the project. So you can see Five Oaks is in here. The next 2 are related to interest earnings. And if you flip to the next page, you're going to see there's ETO incentive money coming back to the district. And then more interest earned on lines 10 and 12. Sorry, I wasn't keeping up there, was I? Let's see. I think that's a high level from a budget perspective. That's where we are on the transfers in and out. The next slide is our equity slide. If I held, okay, there we go. So equity reporting, this is great. We're still tracking. We're just under 15%. And keeping a pretty close eye on that and looking for opportunities to increase that where we can. And I think as we've noted in the past, this is, we don't take out any contractors for which there are no other equivalent minority or disadvantaged contractors available. So this is sort of just a straight number for us. And that's how we'll continue reporting it. Probably difficult to see here, but you can see we're beginning to break down the equity data so that as interest grows for like where we're spending those dollars, we have that data for folks. Next slide is the apprenticeship slide, which I can't even read that. That is tiny. Looks like we're tracking right around 16%. That's been pretty steady, and I suspect we'll continue to see that to trend upward, especially with Beaverton High School and Raleigh Hills. Those are pretty sizable projects they'll help continue that trend.
These are based on actuals paid each month, so as we go along, these will definitely increase. And then let's see, everything else from here on is project updates. Do you want to go through those? I pretty much covered all the project updates already, so unless there's any question on these, I think we're good. Well, I could cover a couple of these. Okay, I mean, we've got time. So Oak Hills, we're doing a classroom addition. The intent here with this project is to eliminate the portables. So there's like 6 portables out at Oak Hills right now. We're going to get rid of those and add 4 permanent classrooms. So this is adding on to the end of the building. There's sort of an existing covered play there adjacent to the playground. So this project is basically done being designed at this point. We just are in the process of getting contractor bids back. We'll have a GMP proposal here within the next couple of weeks. and we're planning on starting construction here in the spring and being done in the fall next year. Cooper Mountain Elementary School, this is one of the projects to create a secure entrance vestibule. This is one of the few remaining schools that didn't have a fully secured entrance, fully secured and monitored entrance. So up at the front door of the school, we're creating a new little office area where a few of the staff will sit, and it'll force visitors to enter through the office through a vestibule. So much more secure entrance. Eric is doing that project, and we're getting bids due in November, and then it'll essentially be a summer project next year. We'll probably start a little bit before summer, some of the exterior work, but I don't expect it to be a major impact. Okay, Aloha, this is one of the upcoming projects. Obviously talked about the softball and baseball artificial turf projects tonight. The other big project we're going to be doing at Aloha is a HVAC upgrade. So all of the HVAC systems in the school right now are original, and they're at end of life. So we'll be replacing all of the air handlers and a lot of the terminal units and controls throughout the school. So this right now is looking, I think the budget in the project's like $20 million. So this is a big HVAC project, and it's going to take all of 2 years to complete the project. So we're doing a lot of phasing work right now to make sure we can do it and not impact operations. Along with that, we'll be doing a paging upgrade. The paging system is not working well.
Since this was one of the projects that we talked about in the contingency discussion, I'm assuming the adjustment to the project budget with the contingency has either already been factored into the scope here, or it won't impact the timing of this project?
Correct. The only thing that would impact it would be if we didn't approve the budget increase, yes. Same thing would be true of, actually the Westview project is a little different. It's slightly further out. The Aloha softball project and baseball project is next year. The Westview is the year after that. And I mentioned Westview already, so we're getting very close to being done. This will be a neat site for us to tour in the spring. I'll make sure we add this to the list. At our last BAC meeting of the year will be another project tour, but I'll make sure we go to Westview. There's some really neat additions to Westview.
If you upgrade like a bathroom in the schools, because that's one of the things that I have noticed that people complain about.
Yeah.
Does that come in the deferred maintenance?
Good question. It depends on what we're doing. So at Westview, we're doing the offices. Along with that, we did do some upgrades to the bathrooms. So one of the big deals at Westview was there was the partitions in the bathrooms. It was like a huge deal these days. But the partitions were just not very good. They were falling down, or there was really huge gaps in them. You know, nobody likes it if you're going to the bathroom and there's like a gap like that in the door. So we replaced all of the bathroom partitions in all the student restrooms at Westview, and that came from the modernization bucket. So that was one of the intents of that project. So similarly, at Aloha High School over the summer, we upgraded. There's a set of bathrooms. Next time you're out there, check them out. By kind of between the gym and auditorium. So we converted these really kind of old, nasty bathrooms to all single user bathrooms. So it's basically 2 big pods that anybody can go in and use the bathroom. So they're pretty neat, and they're a lot easier for people to use. Covered Southridge already, I believe. Covered Capitol Center. This is a picture of Springville. This was just one of our summer projects that we did. Turf in the courtyard. Seismic upgrades. The next seismic upgrade project we're getting ready to do is Meadow Park Middle School. So this next summer we will be doing the 2nd year of Mountain View, and we'll be doing the 1st year of Meadow Park. And then just lots of modernization all over the place. Lots of deferred maintenance. Security upgrades, I could note, since this was in the budget increase. So we have part partner we're working with, Paladin, they do like integrated security solutions. So they do all of our access control and intrusion systems and camera systems. So we're going around to literally every single school right now and enhancing all of those systems. Pretty much new intrusion where necessary, adding additional card readers and adding additional cameras, adding the distributed antenna systems, doing all that and trying to do it all at the same time. So we just finished Kinnaman, which was the kind of the first school, and it's just now wrapping up and going online. And then Kinnaman's going to be done with security upgrades, hopefully forever. And at the same time, we're going to be upgrading paging through the deferred maintenance. So upgrading paging at all schools. All schools have paging. It doesn't always work in all areas of all schools. So we had a pretty good assessment done, and we're going through and updating that concurrent with the security upgrades. Talked about nutrition services, and that is basically that. Let me see. There was one more slide on our other slideshow here. Which was, and I'm not going to click on all these right now just for the sake of time, but you all could go. We'll send, I think this should have been, actually, I made this slide today though, so we'll make sure to send this out to everybody so you have all these links. But these are all the different stories that Nate has put together. Some really good ones. Definitely encourage you all to go check it out. I want to play one just because it made me happy and maybe we'll all enjoy it too, which is the pre-K Playgrounds project that we did this summer.
That is our first play structure for pre-K. This year, Chehalem and I have received the same play structure, a little bit different on the ground. We have bark chips, they have an AstroTurf.
Pre-K hasn't had a playground like this before. Our pre-K program is really built around play and the habits of mind. I see this as an opportunity for them to really build their collaboration and their spatial awareness. They're taking turns, they're learning how to wait for one another.
Go down the slide and then me.
They're navigating some problem solving if there's other kids there.
There's gross motor movements, there's fine motor movements, a lot of social skills. They are turning it into spaceships. The other day it was a school bus.
There are giant fishies trying to chase us. And now they jump.
Trusting themselves to see what risks they can take and what feels safe for their body. And we know because of the turf that's very safe. I don't have to worry about them getting hurt while they're practicing that.
This has always been our play area, but it was kind of a muddy field before. For us to have bark chips out here and to have a designated space, we're now able to come out even if it's raining.
I know how to run really fast on the bark chips.
And with the full day program, we're outside 2 to 3 times a day. So it really gives them a chance to play and explore.
It wasn't ready when students first started, so they've actually been able to watch it being built. They saw the trucks coming in and digging in the ground. They saw the structure being put together, the turf being laid, the cement being poured.
I have pictures of them all standing up against the fence, and they would wave to the workers every day. So it was pretty exciting that they got to see it from beginning to end. And I think it gave them more ownership over the playground.
Now that they have their own space, I think it feels good to them to know that this is a space just for them and not around a lot of big kids, and to have their own area to play in.
I like playing on it a lot.
So there's that and a whole bunch of other videos available here, and they get posted on Facebook, YouTube, and all over the And I wanted to mention, we have just gone through and finished a whole bunch of updates to the website. So if you haven't been on the website recently, check it out. If you go on each school on the website, you can see when the different projects are scheduled or if they've been completed already, and just more detail than we had on there in the past. So thanks to Jason and team for doing that, but a lot more good information on it now. And I think that covers it.
Sorry, I meant to ask earlier. Beaverton and Raleigh Hills, given the 2 biggest projects, what's the current buyout on those 2?
The status of buyout?
Yeah.
I would say it's mostly complete.
We have some minor packages like signage.
Oh, the major stuff. Okay.
Yeah, most of the buyout is actually done pretty early on, like at the time of GMP, especially for those two projects. So yeah, they're mostly complete. Sweet. Any other questions? Went quite a bit quicker than I was expecting tonight, so that's good.
You're just good. That's all it is.
I suppose so.
Anybody else have anything for the good of the order? If not, I guess we'll see everybody on January 22nd next year. Thank you.
Thank you.